Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Starkside. While you're here, I do appreciate it if you support the channel by hitting that like button, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe as well as a notification bell. So today we'll be talking about the Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home's Spider-Man. And this is the last figure in the Spider-Man No Way Home wave, not counting the deluxe figures like Doc Ock and Green Goblin. This figure is something that I've been waiting for ever since the movie came out, and this is the MCU's definitive adaptation of the classic red and blue suit from the comics, so that's why I saved this figure for last. So here we have Spider-Man in this card packaging for Spider-Man No Way Home. So this figure gets the same design for the packaging as with most of the other figures in this wave. So at the front here, we got the logo for Spider-Man No Way Home. At the side, we get this nice artwork of all three Spider-Man. And at the back, we get the same artwork here and a brief bio of the character. So if you want to read it, you can pause the video. And that's that. Alright, let's get Spider-Man out of the packaging. And here we have Spider-Man. Now before we talk about the figure itself, let's go over the accessories. So like with the other figures from this wave, this figure doesn't come with any Build-A-Figure parts, so aside from an alternate masked head sculpt, Spidey comes with 3 pairs of alternate hands. So we get 1 pair of flipping hands, 1 pair of fisted hands, and 1 pair of wall crawling hands. First off, looking closely at the fisted hands, so these look really good. So we finally get raised web lines on an MCU Spider-Man figure, and I think this came out real good. I think the black on the web lines look clean so far. Next up is the flipping hands, which also look good. I think the red so far is film accurate. I do think that one of the flipping hands here on my piece has thicker black web lines than the other, but it doesn't really bother me that much. And lastly, we get wall crawling hands, which makes me so happy. So these look really awesome. I think this is actually only the second time that we get wall crawling hands on an MCU Spider-Man figure. I think the first was with the 3-pack No Way Home integrated suit Spider-Man, which I chose not to get on purpose because I was holding out hope that they would release this new MCU classic suit slash final swing Spider-Man eventually, and I'm just really glad with how things turned out. However, like with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man figures, I do wish we got more accessories for this figure, like web accessories. I think that would have been great. You can use web accessories from other Spider-Man figures, but still, it would have been better if Tom here had his own. So just some history about this particular suit. So until No Way Home, Tom Spider-Man hadn't really had a definitive classic suit. He did have the Homecoming Stark suit that had the red and blue, but that had so much tech in it. And visually it also had those black lines and the spider logo was so small. And it didn't really feel like his own, so it didn't feel classic. And at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, Tom's Peter is inspired by the suit designs of Tobey's and Andrew's. So he decides to make his own suit without technology, without help from others, and here we have it. And as you can see here, this new Spider-Man suit design very much screams classic, from the red and blue to the raised black web lines. But before we talk about those more in detail, let's take a closer look at Peter. So looking at the head sculpt here, I think this Peter Parker head sculpt looks really amazing. I think it captures the likeness of Tom Holland. However, I do want to point out that we've seen this head sculpt before with a Peter Parker and Ned Leeds 2-pack, but this new one here has better paint apps. At least the eyes look so much better in this new one. And the overall paint apps on this new head sculpt look a bit more matte than the previous one, so that's great. And while this head sculpt looks accurate to Tom Holland, this is not actually film accurate. So this head sculpt is for a much younger MCU Peter Parker. I would have preferred if they gave us a new head sculpt that looks closer to the one that came with the upgraded suit Spider-Man. So this head sculpt here makes him look old and tired, like he's lost people. So something like this would have worked better with this new No Way Home Spider-Man. Actually, if you want to try this head sculpt on this new No Way Home Spider-Man body mold, and it does fit, although it is a very tight fit, but there we have it, and I think it looks good. So putting back on this head sculpt here, and yeah, this Peter Parker head sculpt looks so innocent. But regardless, this is still a good looking MCU Peter Parker. And switching it up with the masked head sculpt. And yeah, here we have a masked Spidey. And I think this masked head sculpt looks really great. Again, I love the new raised web lines that we get all over this figure here. However, I do have some minor gripes about the head sculpt here. First off, I think the black paint on the lenses here on his right look like it's a bit more leaning towards the top. if that makes sense. I think the black paint here needs to shift downward a bit more to get it on the right place. And speaking about the lenses themselves, while I do like what we get here, I think the lenses should be slightly bigger to be more film accurate. Again, very minor gripes, not very noticeable most of the time. I didn't even see these until I got a closer look at the figure. Anyway, I think the rest of the figure is done really well. I think the red here is film accurate, or at least accurate to Marvel Studios' intended design, as you can see here. And wow, I just really love how vibrant the red is. And as for the blue, I think it could do with a bit more shine or gloss to be more film accurate, but I think this still looks vibrant enough to capture the suit's classic design. And as for the web lines, I did notice that some other collectors find the web lines to be distracting at times, but personally, I think they did a really good job with the web lines on this piece here. But that's just me. However, I do have some minor gripes with the figure here. So first off, we get this awesome looking spider logo sculpted on the front and the back here. So the spider logo design is a combination of Toby's and Andrew's and a bit of the Stark suit logo. But if you look closely here, the black paint on the front logo needs to shift upward a bit more to put it on the right place, so it's a similar issue with the one I mentioned earlier with the lenses. Again, it's just a minor gripe as I didn't even notice it at first and I don't even see this issue most of the time. Another minor gripe that I have is if you look at the left arm here, there is a bit of black paint from the web lines that's kind of smudged here. Personally, I just treat instances like this as the figure being battle damaged, or maybe something came wrong with Spidey's laundry. But despite all those minor gripes, I think this figure and the suit design might be one of my all-time favorites, especially because it adapts my favorite Spider-Man suit design from the comics. So overall, I am loving the sculpt and paint on Spidey here. Now let's go over the articulation for Spider-Man. So Spider-Man can look up that far and he can look down as well. So we get the same neck articulation with the unmasked head sculpt. His head does rotate and we do get some nice neck pivot here. Like with most Spider-Man figures, we get butterfly joints that allow him to move his shoulders forward and backward. His arms move upward that far, slightly above the 90-degree mark, and he can bend them down all the way. His shoulders rotate 360. We get a bicep swivel, pinless double-jointed elbows. His wrists do rotate and move up and down, so we get the same wrist articulation for all his alternate hands. He has a diaphragm pivot that allows him to move sideways, bend forward, backwards, and rotate side to side. And another awesome thing about the articulation here is like with the other Spider-Man figures, we get this additional inverted ab crunch here, so he can bend forward and backwards even more. Although personally, I do wish he can bend forward a whole lot more than that. Anyway, his legs can kick forward very far, but not so much backwards. His hips move outward very far. We also get drop down hips for this figure too, which really help with the leg and hip articulation. He has an upper thigh cut, pinless double jointed knees. His ankles move up and down, and he has ankle pivot as well. And I think the only thing missing from this classic MCU Spider-Man is toe articulation, so hopefully they give us that next time. Now for some figure comparisons, here's Spider-Man next to some other Spider-Man figures that I have. So we have the classic retro Spider-Man and the PS5 gamer vs Insomniac Spider-Man. And as you can see, this new MCU suit design is clearly inspired by the classic suit. And here's the new classic suit Spider-Man next to some other MCU Spider-Man figures that I have. So we have the Stark suit from Homecoming, the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War, the upgraded suit from Far From Home, and the What If suit. And this new suit just looks so perfect compared to the other designs here. And here's Spider-Man next to his cinematic brother. So we have the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man. And having all three of these just makes me so happy. I think that scene of all three of them swinging together is just one of my all-time favorite scenes in the MCU. And here's Spider-Man next to his fellow Avengers, Iron Man and Captain America. And here's Spider-Man next to his future teammate and partner, Daredevil. And since the two of them are going to be the faces of Street Level MCU, it makes me really happy to see these two side by side. I do hope we get some form of cameo from Daredevil in Spider-Man 4 or, Spider-Man in Daredevil Born Again. And here's Spider-Man with his main supporting character, so we have MJ and Ned Leeds. And here's Spider-Man with the rest of the wave, so we have MJ, Matt Murdock, Sandman, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and the Amazing Spider-Man. And I'm sorry it took so long to finish reviewing this wave, but here we are. And I really enjoyed reviewing this wave, especially the 3 Spider-Man figures. And next up is I'll be reviewing the deluxe figures for No Way Home, so that'll be Doc Ock and Green Goblin. So that's my review of the Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home's Spider-Man. So despite the lack of more accessories and my minor gripes about the paint apps, I think this figure has amazing sculpt and, still amazing paint apps and great articulation. And being a classic looking MCU Spider-Man, I really love this figure. And if you're wondering where I got this figure, so I pre-ordered the entire Spider-Man No Way Home wave from Collector's Quest Philippines. So if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this figure. Let me know what you think of my review. Please leave a comment below. And if you like this video, I do appreciate it if you support the channel by hitting that like button. And if you still haven't, please hit that subscribe as well as the notification bell. You can also follow me on social media, links in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.